Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Rick and Morty, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm your host, Delaney Stovall, and today I'm joined by April Collins.
Hi there!
And Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
So, we're talking about Rattlestar, Ricklactica. I think I said that right. Episode 5 of this season of Rick and Morty. So there are spoilers for this episode. Like, a lot of it's hard to say spoilers for Rick and Morty. We don't really have, like a lot of plot right now, but this is kind of a big episode. So I'd say, like, spoilers for everything up to this point, but mainly for Rattlestar, Ricklactica. This might be the only episode title I can actually say this season. So you can find more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com, and you can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app by searching for Overly Animated. Also check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. So I guess tell me your initial thoughts, feelings. You can go ahead and lead with like what you thought was like the funniest part of the episode, because that's honestly the most important part of Rick and Morty podcasts. So, April, how about you start?
Okay, so first off, I was super hyped whenever I realized that there was going to be a lot of snakes in this episode. Yeah.
The promo for this episode is so good.
Right? Like, but anyway, okay, so like, there's all the snakes, and I was like, and everything is just,
It's so
and
good.
I was dying the entire time. Like, anytime the snakes were on the screen, I was like, I'm here for these snakes, like, and their Terminator-esque battle that's taking place. Like, also, love the Terminator, so I loved that was, like, a thing that was taking place in this episode as well. And I think the whole, Jerry's been pretty solid this season, and I really enjoyed him in this episode as well. So I had fun. Like, this was fun. So,
where do you think it ranks in the season so far?
Oh, I don't know. Don't ask me this.
Okay.
Who are you, Dylan?
Obviously, I'm impersonating him for today. All right, Michelle?
The snakes are also my favorite part of the episode. I love snakes, so when Dylan was hyping us up for next episode and saying like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a snake one, I was like, yeah, snakes in space, I'm sold. There are many snakes, only one of them really in space, but that one was also great. I mean, it's so silly. The whole thing. I think this is one of the concepts that like I vibe with a lot more. It's just like, yeah, let's see snakes. What are we gonna do with the snakes? I mean, Summer was vibing with the snake jazz, which like I think is definitely a highlight of the episode. The snake jazz is actually it's pretty great. It's really smooth, easy to listen to. I mean, they did something right creating that. Just the snakes like shooting guns. The fact that Space Snake was literally had like a little helmet and a little like astronaut outfit, just like shaped like a snake tube. Just stuff like that, I think honestly is what sold the episode the most for me. And Jerry, yeah, I agree with April. Jerry was used pretty well, and he almost like was like kind of impressive, but then he fell off the roof anyway. And broke his leg there. And I'm impressed he got as far as he did, and that's something.
Was it impressive, or like he was almost competent?
You know, when I say impressive, I mean like on a scale of like Rick to Jerry, he was impressive. Okay, but yeah, competent is like objectively what almost happened. Okay.
So I also loved this episode, because how do you watch this episode and hate it? It's literally so funny. Exactly. Like, it's Terminators. It's snake Terminators. It's so funny. Like, it's already so funny because there's a snake in space, but then I didn't realize we were going full-on snake Terminator, and that was, to me, I also love Terminator, because Terminator's great, and I also like Terminator Genesis, which is a controversial opinion, but it's so funny. Oh my god, they're Terminator snakes. Like, okay, here's the thing, like, okay, we weren't really that impressed with slut dragons. Terminator snakes, this is what I got this niche. This is okay. This is really funny. They took the snake planet idea and they just ran with it, and it was just hysterical. I also agree that Jerry, again, was pretty solid. It's really annoying because, like, he sucks, but that's why it's so funny, because he's terrible. Like, he's so dumb, and I hate him, but it was great. I also agree that the snake jazz it's pretty solid. Like, it's not like, I'm not a big fan of jazz. I don't know, like, it's fine. But snake
but it's
jazz...
the fact that it's snakes, right?
Jazz.
Like,
it was, and also the whole being like, this is my jam. It's like, it's snake jazz. Okay, that's your new jam. So, I feel like it's hard to imagine people not liking this episode, but I'm sure there's people out there who don't, but we all love it, so sorry if you're like, I hated this episode, because we're all about it. And of course, we didn't talk about the Nazis. There were Nazi snakes.
Nazi snakes. I like that, snakes. Like, they had, what is it? They like, write notes to each other, but they were just S's.
So good.
And then, like, that one snake was, like, writing on the blackboard, and it was, like, not S's, and I was like...
Was he doing snake math? Is that what it was?
Maybe. Or maybe it's, like, college-level snake language, so it's, like, you need an advanced degree to, like, really understand it.
Linguistics.
Yeah.
I like, too, that, like, the snake that Morty, like, sent to them... Like, they put it in, like a prison, but it looked like a house, and it was just hiding under the
shack rug.
So funny. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Poor Snake. He was probably so scared. And what was even better is, like, there wasn't subtitles for it, right? Because when I watched... Okay, good.
None.
I had that moment where I was just like, are there supposed to be subtitles on this?
Like, I always watch with...
for speaking.
Closed captioning because I'm deaf. I'm like, I can't hear what they're saying. And also for the purposes of outlining, because I'm like, what exactly are they saying? Because, Rick speaks burp, and it's difficult to understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
So, no, there were no subtitles, which I really, like, that, they're just hissing. Like, there's literally, like, 5-minute portion of the episode where there are no words. They're just hissing, and it's amazing. It's so funny. And
I was gonna say, I also really enjoyed that, like, the Slippy, the Morty snake.
Yeah.
I like that they had to, like, record his hissing and then translate it so that they could understand.
I think Slippy is a girl.
Yeah. Because she gets baby later.
Yes. That's true. I forgot about that.
And Slippy hated Morty, which, not that I blame Slippy.
He bit him like 15 times. Like,
so
I'm
funny.
sorry, just get in the astronaut suit. You have to go to this planet. I'm gonna drop big lights on you. Yeah.
So, we've talked about, mentioned the snake Nazis. And there are, which is that's still a gag. That's the thing. Like, this is a gag from earlier in the season, which they don't do this. So this is, I feel like we're going some, like, interesting places here with, like, obviously there's characters who are gags. Like, Mr. Poopy Butthole is a gag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, Bird Person is kind of a gag, but also not. But, so, earlier this season, we had the whole Nazis and going different places and, going to different dimensions. And then we had it again. So this is, like, I think we're having some interesting interplay with it this season. And also the fact that we keep bringing up Nazis. And we had racist snakes. That's a really good gag in the beginning that I think gets overshadowed by how funny the rest of the episode
that's
is.
right.
Yeah. So
Rick talks about it.
Yeah, so they go to the planet, and he's like, oh my god, this is so dumb. He's like, it's like 17 billion snakes. That's a lot of snakes. Like, no thanks.
Yeah.
And 10,000 nations. And they're about to go to global war over, and then Rick goes, race! And he starts laughing how silly it is that snakes are racist. He's like, I hate you because you're not the right color, Snake. Okay, so literally the entire series of Rick and Morty before this point, Rick and Morty doesn't talk about anything. Like, doesn't say anything. You even get to this season, they're like, Nazis are bad, racism's bad. Like, good job.
I'm glad it took us 4 seasons to
did that kind of impress upon y'all during this episode at all?
I mean, I guess I'd say, like, I don't feel like Rick and Morty as a show hasn't said anything before this season, but it does seem like they're they want to be a lot more explicit and be a lot more obvious about having opinions about things and satirizing them more frequently. Like, it feels like season 3, I feel like there was definitely stuff, and there might have been before it, but I feel like this season definitely is, like, not afraid to say anything, and I feel like that's maybe the biggest shift, just, like, the amount of stuff and how blatant it is.
And I do want to say that there was the nipples, the nipple people, like, they had different nipples, and they were, like, there was, like, a race war.
In the planet of Rick and Morty's, right, where there was, like, a social hierarchy.
Yes, there's
Rick's being in charge and Morty's. Yeah.
Because it's like a technocracy.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that they're like, it's good that you brought it up too, Delaney, because like the whole like Nazi thing, and it seems like they're like sort of like unafraid to say whatever they want about anything at this moment. Like they were greenlit for like 70 episodes, right? So they can do whatever they want. Like, and the other thing too with it is that I think that makes it like even more interesting because Rick and Morty is literally not going to go anywhere. I feel like Dan Harmon would have to like murder someone in order for them to be like, okay, let's take the show off the air. Like, and I think it would have to be like, oh, he's convicted and he's in jail and literally can't work on episodes. So I think that's like, it's making this season like kind of interesting just because like it really does kind of feel like it's a little off the rails.
Well, it's like, yeet, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, like, it's been fun. Like, you know, obviously, like, the sex-crazed dragons was a little weird.
But more evidence that they're doing whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, like, they're literally doing whatever they want. And so, but I like that we, like, got snakes out of it.
Oh my god, snakes in space? Like, what a great concept.
I feel like snakes are, like, our... like space dumpsters of Rick and Morty reference.
The thing is, like, one, making fun of Terminator, like, great, do that. I don't know why it's so much funnier with snakes, but it just is. Like,
just like robot, they get that shot like the robot snake, and it's just like the idea of an evil robot Terminator snake. It just looks hilarious.
It's so funny. Well, it's also like it does. I don't know. Like, obviously, if it had been monkeys, it wouldn't have been as funny. Like, well, I don't know. It's if they've done Planet of the Apes before too.
Yeah, they have.
I don't know, there's just something, I don't know how they found the perfect combination of random animal and Terminator, but they found it in Snake Terminator, and it's so funny. And I guess it's because they hiss, like, I guess hissing is like,
they don't really have, funnier. Like, a language.
Yeah, they have a language, it's just hissing.
Yeah.
And they can't really do that much. Like, they're not that menacing in terms of animals. Like, they don't have any arms or legs. Well,
it was really funny when Rick, like, shoots the snakes and gives them legs. He's like, do you want legs? And they were like, no.
And they were like, no.
Can't function. They don't know how to use them. They just fall over.
So did y'all, so we'd already seen the Nazi gag. What did y'all think about it in this episode?
I mean, it's a Nazi gag. I don't know.
Like as Nazi gags go.
As far as Nazi gags go, it was a Nazi gag. Like, I don't know, like, again, like, I think something in terms of, like, snakes is kind of funny, like, and I liked that, what was it? They, like, went back in time to save Lincoln, and then they came back to snake Nazis, and they were like, oh, you idiot, and then they go, like, to, like, you know, back to, like, World War II or whatever. I guess Snake World War II. I don't know.
They were in Snake Berlin. I really enjoyed that they had to preface. So it was, like, obviously Snake World, but then they had to say things like Snake Berlin. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Like, they just put snake in front of everything. Yes.
So, Michelle, what did you have any?
For whatever reason, the fact that so many other snakes through time were like, oh, this is the moment. We have to go back and either defend Hitler or try to kill him. And the body pile of the snakes. Like, that whole part of the gag was what really killed me. Especially when you see, like, all of Hitler's, like, supporters on the outside. And then, like, the snake bodies just piling out the window, falling off the balcony. And the snakes are like, what is going on?
They're just like patiently waiting.
So funny. Yeah.
So it's really like it's like a twofold gag.
Yeah.
Because you get one, the snake comes back and he's like, Hitler, and he's like, no, and that's literally what happened to Rick. Again, great gag. And also it's really funny that they just decided to reference it again. And then it's even funnier. It's like when you play the Lego games, the Lego video games, because they don't talk. Everything's so much funnier.
Yeah. Just like the fact that they're all done without like screaming or anything, and it's just like the body pile. Yeah, and something about that is just really hilarious.
The snake Nazi salute is hysterical.
Oh, I forget. Do they do it with their tails?
Yeah, they just do it with their tails. Yeah. It's so funny. And as we all know, Delaney loves character design humor. Like if it's based on their body design, I think it's hysterical. Like it is the peak of humor to me in animation. And
I can see that.
It's so funny. They do it a lot in Ladybug. It's my favorite.
I remember when they bring the college professor, I guess he's like a snake linguist, yes. And he translates this, and then the other snake pats him on, I guess, his back with his tail. I was like, oh my god, this is silly. But it's great, so yes. I can see why you like it.
Oh, it happens again in the Nazi gag. So again, so the twofold part of the gag. You have the Rick gag, and then you have the gag of we have to go back in time to kill Hitler. Which is one of the... It has to be a trope. I haven't checked. I'm sure it's a trope that you have to go back in time and kill Hitler. And the one that I think of the most is the one from Doctor Who in the episode Let's Go Kill Hitler. I think it's called Let's Kill
yeah.
Hitler. Yeah. And so, of course he goes back in time to kill Hitler, but then what's so funny is because, so it's not so much they're defending Hitler because they have to protect Hitler, it's to keep the timeline intact.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why they're doing, also, actually, the peak gag of this episode is the fact that they go to 1985 Snake MIT.
Yes! Oh!
I can't believe we got this far and I didn't talk about that. That's my favorite gag. It's so funny. Hair, 1985, everything. So good. But, so, that's the twofold gag. And then the body humor part is when Snake Hitler takes off his clothes, gets in the bathtub, and then starts washing himself. It's so funny. I was dying.
With his tail!
With his tail! It's so funny. I love body humor like that. It is so funny to me. I think that's really what sold Snake Terminator for me, is because it's snakes, and it's just their tails doing stuff. It's so funny.
It's just their tails doing stuff. Also, I really enjoyed their, they sent a snake back in time, but they tried to make him look human, which only made him more horrifying.
Yes, and
he's like, "This is the form you'll be most comfortable with."
Yes, and it's like, no, bad.
That squashes him out of horror later.
So, just before we stop talking about the Nazi stuff, do y'all think what if we get another Nazi gag? Will y'all be tired of it?
Honestly, maybe a little. Just because, I feel like there are more, at this point, I don't know what else they have to say other than Nazis are bad. Don't be a Nazi person watching. We've had
this before. We've had, there was, where Rick and Summer, beat the shit out of that,
Yeah. Plus, we had when Rick kept reforming as different creatures, and then there was the Nazi bug reality.
Right.
So I'm fine to see more, but I also if we're not gonna say anything different, there's so many other if it's gonna be a social political topic that we can talk about that's relevant, that's not just Nazis. So I would be happy to see something else. That I would be curious what Rick and Morty's take is on besides Nazis,
Right.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting. I mean, if I feel like Nazis is a very easy and safe kind of go to. I think it's definitely a trope, the whole the Hitler thing. But it would be if they really wanted to be super edgy or whatever, they could I would not be surprised if they started talking about more modern day oppressive political topics like China or whatever. So
right.
Yeah.
Which they did get, we had more racial stuff in this episode too, not just that the snakes are racist, but then Jerry, when he's talking to the basketball players.
Oh yeah.
That was also horrible. So
that was really cringeworthy to watch.
Oh, it was bad. Like, it was really bad.
It was really bad.
He does it at the end too, and he tries to fist bump Rick, and he's like, "My brother!"
Yeah,
and he's just like, bad. "Oh, why?" And that's when Rick's like, "God, I hate Jerry so much." I'm like, in this moment, I really do too. That's terrible.
Well, it's like, it's kind of, I really appreciated. So this is the other thing. It's not just like, obviously they can do stuff for laughs, but I do think they've had some good nuggets this season. So when he's talking to the basketball players, he's like, "This white guy can jump," and of course that's when they're like, leave the racial stuff off the court, because Jerry's like, "Oh, I thought this was about, street ball talk," but then the player says, "Leave the racial stuff off the court, because now it's part of everything else." So I think that was a really, like, obviously that's supposed to be a joke, but it's also like, I feel like that was a really good line. I don't know.
I thought so too.
Yeah. So did y'all were y'all really like, whoa, about this scene, or like, what did y'all think about it?
Mostly just a little cringe.
Yes, no, it was definitely super cringy, because Jerry is like, that's the whole purpose of his character, is to be cringy.
That's true. Yeah. He is the epitome of cringe always.
Like when he started saying, "I live in the suburbs," I was like, no.
Yeah.
No. And I have a certain power I wanted to celebrate. Like, oh my god. Like,
they're like, oh no!
And then I did appreciate, they were like, "Yo, we got a Nazi." That was great. That was a good line.
Yeah. I will say it was funny whenever they called Jerry a Nazi.
Yes, absolutely.
Because were Nazis, like, super racist? I mean, I guess they were.
Yes,
I don't know.
They were, yes. They were into eugenics. Which, when you think about it, is like peak racism, so...
That's right. I forget they're one and the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's fine.
With a different name.
And then, so, I wasn't sure how to, like, we can talk about this more, about how to interpret, like, the last line. So, when Jerry, like, floats off, he leaves his shoe and his money.
Yep.
And he's like, "No, don't touch the money or the blood." Oh, the blood, oh my god. Or the money, like the money or the shoe. "Let them be a powerful but confusing monument to our neighborhood's integrity." I think this is about Confederate statues.
Is it? I honestly, like, I didn't know what to make of that line at all.
I mean, it's definitely confusing.
I didn't know what to make of it either. I thought it was really funny in the moment, and then I was like, I feel like we're trying to say something more, but I'm not sure what.
Like, I like to think it's about the Confederate statues, and, like, I would say, like, the confusing part and the integrity part would be, like, where they're like, "No, we're not going to take it down."
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the internet thinks.
Yes.
That line was supposed to represent. Because, like, honestly, it wasn't super clear to me, so I'm willing to assume it's anything, because I don't really have an opinion yet.
Yeah, and I don't know. It might just be, like, something that I just need to, like, rewatch. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, definitely I got it, like, on the second watch.
Yeah, I only watched it one time, so...
That's fair. I mean, the thing is, there's so much in this episode, and I think that's, this real strength of this episode, obviously, other than the hysterical snake part, which is any of the snakes is so funny, is, like, narratively, I think this episode works really well.
Yeah.
And they did that thing again where they've been blending the A and the B plot. So they're doing, and I guess there was kind of a C plot, kind of, almost.
Kind of.
But I think that's really, like, because that's been the biggest, I'd say, difference between the previous seasons and this season, is where the plots start to blend. And we had a stinger again that related directly to the plot. Well, at least, not necessarily the plot, but the events of the episode.
Oh yeah, totally did. Because we figured out the origin of the black guy.
Right.
Because that was something we never, like, found out. Right. And I was really curious about it. And then, like, we got, like, it, like, paid off in the end. And I was like, oh, goodness. Like,
because Morty, like, even mentions it. So that's why I feel like our attention was drawn to it. He's like, wait, I want to know why I had that black eye. Then Rick's like, come on, like, put on the snake suit. But it's like, it plants that for you to expect some kind of answer. So it's a good answer.
Yep,
like, just punched him in the eyeball. Next time, stay in the car.
And they did, like, the little Christmas card. That was good.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is, like, the Christmas episode, and I kind of love that.
Like, they just, like, the only things that make it Christmas are the Christmas lights and the Santa hats.
Santa hats.
It's great. I really enjoy it. Like, I I don't like Christmas episodes of things. Because it's all, like, it's always the same.
Christmassy?
Yeah. Like, it's like, oh, it's Santa, or what, like, it's annoying. Like, I don't care. So,
I did appreciate that their reward was going to be, like, a little bit of eggnog. And they were really hype about it. I was like, oh, this is a nice, charming nugget of canon about Rick and Morty. They like eggnog.
And they never got it.
Well, they will eventually. They just gotta complete the cycle, I guess.
That's true. Which, that was another thing, like, there's even a part in the episode where Rick's like, this is the closest to a turn,
like a happy ending or something like that.
Time travel story, and then immediately they're like, oh, you have to complete the loop.
Yeah.
So, I guess we can go through the gags that we haven't talked about yet, even though the most important gags are the snakes.
Yeah,
snake gags. There's a lot of, like, really good one-liners in this episode, too.
Like, right in the beginning, I think, like, obviously it's gross, but I always think this is funny, when Rick's like, alright, you gotta pee, we're gonna go on a long trip, and I don't want to empty the bottle, and it's like, gross. And that's when, Jerry's hanging up the lights, and Morty has to watch so he doesn't die. Which, I mean, to be fair, I will say hanging up Christmas lights is dangerous. Like, in this case, I think Jerry, like, should be supervised.
Yeah, well, I mean, how bad he messed up the shoe thing.
I love that was, like, a joke in and of itself. Like, she's like, hey, like, Beth walks in and she's like, where's Jerry? And they're like, oh, like, he's hanging up Christmas lights, but don't worry, like, we made it, like, super safe for him. And they're like, as long as he can, like, he doesn't, like, mess up shoes, and they're like, oh god, he's gonna die.
Yeah, like, he's dead.
That's so funny.
And it's not even, like, putting on shoes, it's literally just wearing shoes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just wearing shoes.
Just wear shoes.
So, speaking of the shoes, so I did really, like, okay, so this might be, like, this is kind of a big deal, I think, in like, terms of Rick and Morty, because obviously Rick thinks he's a god, and Rick acts like a god. But we literally have this part where Rick's like, okay, so I made your atomic matrix slightly lighter than air, but your shoes are slightly heavier than air. And he's like, this is more impressive conceptually than walking on water, which, he's like, but what do I know? I wasn't born into the god business. I fucking earned it.
That's such a, like, I don't know, it always seems like Rick's character is that, like, he knows and understands that he's, like, better than everybody else, and he's obviously extremely intelligent and smart,
but he doesn't care. Like, it doesn't seem like he
doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't, like, care, and so it's interesting for him to, be like, yeah, like, this is who I am now. Like, it's almost like he's accepting that and then playing into it at the same time. So, because, I mean, I guess, like, in his opinion, like, if you're going to be, like, a godlike figure, like, you almost have to kind of not care and just kind of do whatever you want at that point. So,
plus, I think it makes him more bitter towards people that aren't as smart as him. Because I feel like his whole, like, I earned a thing is because Jerry didn't earn shit.
That's
fair. He didn't earn this power. Yeah. He just let him borrow it because he feels like he's so helpless and stupid he needs it. But I feel like there's a little resentment there, too.
Yeah. Especially because Jerry, I mean, that's the kind of the whole Jerry plot of the episode is Jerry's like, I don't need your help.
Right.
And that does not work out well for him.
But then he does. He almost gets there, but no.
He almost does.
He almost gets away with it. But
well, I mean, so you were talking about he's leaning into it about being like a god is god status. Well, so in last season it was all about he took power back.
Yeah,
from the family. Yeah. Like he was in charge of the family, and then he could do whatever he wanted. He was kind of untouchable. And then now he's kind of lost his power again. So I wonder if what do y'all think about that?
I don't think he's lost his power. I think there are, like, air quotes around like what he's supposed to do in terms of permission.
Yeah.
But, like, we saw him like put Beth on pause and just
That's true.
totally move around everyone. So like I feel like he's letting them think they have power, but like only the appearance of it, and nothing below the surface any way. Well,
he didn't undermine Jerry. Like, he let Jerry, like, to be fair, like, he obviously wants Jerry to die. Like,
but he cares about Beth.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Yes. He's kind of like, Jerry is like last season, like, and he's kind of like the obstacle. And now Jerry's back.
Yeah. I think I agree with Michelle that he's giving them the illusion of power.
Right. Yeah.
And but like, I mean, we've obviously know and have seen from Rick that he can be extremely manipulative when you don't even realize that you're being manipulated by him. And so I think that and to also touch with what you said, Delaney, about how he wants Jerry dead. That's very obvious.
Yes.
I think he's sort of trying to go about it in a way that wouldn't be his fault. He's I'm laying down the breadcrumbs to your demise, Jerry, but I'm just hoping that you follow them kind of situation.
Do you think that's the end game? Do you think Jerry's going to die this season?
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
It has 70 episodes, so I
mean, maybe that could be really interesting. But April's saying, that's exactly what Rick's approach in the Cuckoos episode is.
Right,
he's Beth doesn't want this to be anything other than Morty's choice, so I'll just make it his choice and then I'll do my way. So he's not afraid to do things in the a long-winded way, as long as it doesn't directly point back to him in a way anyone can notice. But he's still in control the whole time. So I feel he still ultimately has all the power. He just has to be sneakier and subtle than he's used to being.
Yeah.
And there's the part... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, and then it, makes sense that he's also, starting to play into the whole, I'm a god kind of thing, because, I feel it'll, come back around full circle, that he's, I'm a god, I'm the master of this destiny, everyone's destiny, and so, if I want something, then I'm gonna, get it, because we've heard him say, in previous episodes, and that it's whatever he wants and how he's going to do things. So
right. And we also get at the end, well, closer to the end. It's not really. I don't know. Let's go with the middle of the episode when Jerry. They're on the phone, and Jerry, holds onto the tree, and he's if I survive, it'll be without you, and if I die, it'll be on your ass. Merry Christmas, bitch. Also a great line. There's a lot going on in this.
This is the best line Jerry's had that wasn't, at his detriment.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you can say Merry Christmas, bitch, it's a good reason to say a great line.
Doesn't he also say, I'm the Jesus of Christmas or something?
Yeah, he says, I'm the Jesus Christ of Christmas, which I'm not really sure what that means.
But he's so excited in the moment. It's just kind of, I buy it. Whatever it means. It's hilarious.
It's hard to, not be excited for him when he's, delivering, very solid lines,
he's barely,
I'm the
barely
Jesus
hanging together. He's he's sticking mud on his feet so he doesn't fly away. I'm the Jesus of Christmas.
I didn't get that.
Sorry, Jerry. Maybe for you are.
I didn't get that. I thought the dirt was because he was cold. This makes a lot more sense.
No, it's the way down. But it's Jerry, you're barely hanging on. This is barely working. Saying Jesus Christ of Christmas is kind of a lot, but for you, this is a huge deal, so I understand.
But we've kind of been following the plot of Jerry, I guess. So I guess we can keep going with, when Jerry's holding his pants for water.
That's actually really clever of him.
It was almost competent.
It was almost competent, because whenever
this is before the part we were talking about. This is before he lands.
Well, because at first I was why do you have your pants off? Why are you holding them and just letting them fill with water? And then I was after I thought about it, later on, I was he's weighing himself down. That's what he's doing.
Right. Wasn't working, though.
I mean, it was kind of working for him.
He was still alive, I guess. Like, if he's getting thirsty, he had his pant water, so something. I thought at first it was a way to, like, weigh him down, but no, I think it was just to drink out of.
That makes more sense, honestly. Like, because he's an idiot.
But then he does, like, wise up, and he has the boulder, and he goes into that bar.
Oh yeah, that did not go well for him at all.
I loved it. Everyone was so like, wait, you think you're a tough guy because you got a rock? No rocks in the bar, man. You take that outside. Yeah, it's like everyone has such strong feelings.
No boulders in the bar. And then they got mad at him because he's like, look, like, if I let this go, like, I'm gonna float up. And, like, there's a lot of fans there. And then they were all mad at him for, like, floating up.
It was
Jerry's life.
And he's like, take your girlfriend.
And he barely throws it because it's so heavy.
Oh, and then he's like, "This is
Jerry for carrying it.
This is my service boulder."
Yeah, yes, which is a good line too.
Oh, and he orders Diet Sprite Remix. Like, what? What?
Is that even still available?
I don't think so. There's no way you can still buy that.
I think the dragon would have it in his cave.
The dragon definitely had Diet Sprite Remix.
Thing, yeah.
And then, so Jerry's like, he's up in the sky again, and he's looking at pictures on his phone
of him and like the first one's so like wholesome. It's like him and Beth, and then there's like Morty
putting a Band-Aid on.
Yeah. He doesn't look at a picture of Summer. Rude.
Yeah, I know, what the heck.
And then he calls Beth, and Beth doesn't have his number. So funny. And then
this is a lot.
So you were talking earlier, April, about talking about more like modern. I mean, not that racism and Nazism aren't modern, but like, you know, other stuff like that's more current.
Yes.
And so I was thinking, because he goes, I want to, like, that's when he's leaving the really sad voicemail, and he's crying, and he's like, I want to be a strong man for you, and then he, like, decides to, like, get on the, like, do the plane stuff, and the pilots are doing Molly and all that stuff.
Which was also funny.
Yes. So I wonder if, like, granted, I feel like, I mean, Jerry is the, like, embodiment of toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Yeah, because he always feels like he has to, like, provide for his family, and he's, like, the man of the house, and
he does literally nothing.
Literally nothing.
It's ridiculous.
He doesn't have a job still, right?
Right.
No, I don't think he does.
All right, Jerry, whatever.
Like, what do you do all day, Jerry? What do you do?
Well, when was the last time Beth has gone to work? Like,
we're not even convinced that, like, it's really Beth, so, like...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
But fake Beth would still supposedly go to work, because she wouldn't know she's fake Beth.
I forgot, like, that she, like, works since, like, the time they did horse surgery.
Right! Oh my god!
I don't know, that was forever ago.
Doctor.
Yeah.
The thing with Jerry is, like, Beth clearly likes being the one in charge. I don't think she wants or expects or needs him to step up. But the problem is they still shit on him for not stepping up all the time. So it's like, what is he supposed to do?
I feel like they don't shit on him for that. They shit on him because he wants to and he tries and he sucks at it. I think it's more like his attitude about it. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, I think it's right. I think it's just his attitude. Like, if you just chill out and stop trying so hard, they, like, wouldn't care as much.
Well, I think that might also be, like, a small kind of, like, commentary on, like, masculinity and all of that as well. Sort of like those gender norms, too.
Yeah.
For like, them to, like, constantly... Because, you know, he's always got to be the man of the house. He's got to provide for his family. Like, you know, he's the man in charge. And then, like, they just shit on him all of the time. And it's like, yeah, because that's the world now. Like, we don't need, like, a man to be in charge of, you know, us. Especially because, like... Well, I mean, I guess... the home is not evenly split in terms of gender. Like, there's 3 males and 2 females. And so I think that, like, you know, the fact that, like, sort of outside of Rick, like, the power belongs in the hands of, like, Summer and Beth, so.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the home, I guess, it's, like, weird, because I feel like sometimes the show's trying to say, like, oh, like, Beth is so smart, and she's just like her dad, and sometimes it's like, but he's clearly a lot smarter than her, and he can kind of wrap around his finger the way he does everyone else, so it's like, okay, so where's the line there? I mean, same with Summer, too, like, we've seen Summer have really good lines and be really fine in a fight and holds her own, but then we also don't really use her in significant ways.
Right, yeah.
It's just sometimes it's kind of like she's there and she's helping and she's doing an okay job, but there's not anything really deeper to that. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe like subtextually, I feel like Rick and Morty themselves are kind of still the ones who know the most, do the most, are the most interesting because of that, and we just are more invested in.
Yeah.
Even though on the surface it's like, oh, we've seen Beth and Summer do cool things too. It's never quite always about them. And even when it's about one of them, that tends to be also in relation to either
like
Rick or Morty.
Morty.
Usually Rick. Yeah. And like Beth's whole thing's usually about her relationship to Rick as a dad. And like all that stuff's like interesting, but it's also like, but who's Beth besides Rick? Or Jerry.
Besides Rick's daughter or Jerry's wife.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why we need to go to that space episode where the real Beth is, so we can finally get to know whoever she is for real.
That would be great. I'm not convinced it's happening, but that would be great.
They got 70 episodes, they better!
I agree with you.
like, it's too easy for them to explore the idea now. Like, you might as well.
Right. Also, she has to be a clone. What's the point of that episode if she's not a clone?
I know.
I really want her to be a clone.
Yes.
I do.
Especially because, like, she's, like, so, like, in her relationship with Jerry, and it seems so, like, unlike her.
Yes. Like, why?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Which I think part of, and I think we've gotten into this a little bit on the show, is that Beth holds herself back so she doesn't become Rick.
Yeah.
Which, so if we do get that, like, space episode, I wonder if she'll be just like Rick.
Oh.
Yeah, no. I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully, like, the fact that she's kind of going out on her own means she's going to figure out who she is not in relation to anybody else, so she can finally just take the time to be in a different environment. But, yeah, I mean, I just want to see what she's up to, and also with Summer. But Beth is the one who really has, like, a plot reason to explore right now, so I'm mostly invested in that.
Right. Which I did really enjoy Summer's moments in this episode.
Yeah, like, they're always good, it's just always not that, not that important to anything larger than just, like, sassy teenager.
Like, at the end.
I feel like she had more of, a role in the show, like, last season versus
yes, definitely.
This.
She hasn't done anything. Well, even Rick is like, "Hey, you want to go to Boob World?" And I was like, "Take Summer to Boob World."
Yes.
I know. Even I wanted Summer to go.
I want to go to Boob World. What the heck?
Me too.
Let's go to Boob World, guys. I want to see Boob World. It's really irritating. And then Summer's like, "Not today," and I'm like, "Okay." She said, "Not today," so we could still go to Boob World.
She's considering it.
There are still options open for us. Also, it was like, and then, okay, we had Morty, like, masturbating, like, straight up.
Oh, yeah.
And it was boobs, and I was like, he's real bitter.
About Boob World.
Granted, he didn't know about Boob World yet. That wasn't a thing yet. That's earlier, true. But still. Yeah. That was right when Terminator started. Great entrance for Terminator. We should just talk about the snakes. That's the best part of the episode.
Yeah. Let's talk about snakes more.
What is y'all's favorite snake gag?
I really liked the snake with legs.
Yes.
I thought that was really funny. Like, that hit very nicely. So, and then I also enjoyed that, like, whenever, I guess, like, the whole situation, like, fixed itself, they all started to, like, eat themselves.
Yeah!
And they just, like, disappeared. So...
Yeah, and Rick said that. That was the thing. Like,
he did!
And then they, like, straight up, like...
Actually showed it.
I can't say it right, but, like, Ouroboros.
Yes! That's that word that I You attempted it. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, good job. I think honestly my favorite part, just because like when Dylan told us like, oh, a space snake, I'd imagined like all these like really weird looking space seeming snakes.
Yes.
And the fact that the snake just floats over to Morty in a little astronaut suit. Yeah, like through its helmet.
Yeah, how? How did that happen?
Seeing the snake be a normal ass snake in and out a little astronaut outfit, like literally set the stage for the rest of the episode, and like it's so funny. Like that's when you know what you're really in for, and I just love it so much. So I think that's probably my ultimate favorite. Second is definitely Snake Jazz still, because it's just so
Snake Jazz is like so good.
I need like one of those like 24/7 music feeds of just Snake Jazz.
Snake Jazz.
Lo-fi Snake Jazz tunes to sleep and study to.
It's not, I don't think it's beyond Rick and Morty. Like, one, they always have great music on the show to begin with, but then, you know, The Sims has entire songs recorded in Simish. There's no reason we can't have Snake Jazz.
Give us Snake Jazz. Let's all give the people what they want. Snake Jazz.
So my favorite is when they show us the Snake Planet.
Just the whole thing with all the snakes,
there's like
people stuff.
Air Force, and they're like playing baseball. And then
yeah.
And my favorite is Snake Pentagon.
Oh yeah, the Snake Pentagon!
Like there's holes for like it's so funny. Like and then they go back and then they have to break into the Snake Pentagon, and it's I don't know. It's Snake Pentagon or 1985 Snake MIT. Like, it's like it's really hard. This episode is so funny, and okay, it's 1985 Snake MIT. I'm sorry, the snake.
Yeah,
I really enjoy the line about like I don't know snake math. Like,
yes, yeah, like, I don't know snake math.
Okay.
You know all these things, Rick, but not snake math.
When he's upset, he's like, they're not even a quarter of the way done making it. I'm gonna have to make it for them.
I have to make it myself.
I know.
And then, like, the narrator, when she's like, 17 billion snakes' lives ended on June 21st, 2026. And it's like the snake resistance. Like, oh my god, that is... Oh, wait, and then they, God, so there's the whole Terminator, and it's like Snake Net.
Oh, yeah!
So good.
And they're like, Serpicord. I was like, this is dumb. Like,
that's
dumb.
The best kind? When it's just really, really dumb.
Well, I mean, I think, like, if there's... Terminator is dumb. Like, I like Terminator, it's stupid. And then, not only is it Terminator, like, it's so funny. Like...
I will say, because I feel like, you know, like, a bunch of other shows have, like, you know, like, made, you know, poked fun and, like, made, like, just made fun of Terminator, but yes. I think this one was just really, like, landed very well. Like, just because it was snakes. Like, that's all they had to do was just make them snakes. Just make it snakes, and you're successful.
And I think this was another one, like, this might be my favorite episode of the season, just because of the snake Terminator. Because, one, it's hysterical, and then this is really what Rick and Morty does. Like, you know, we take a concept and we take it to the furthest reaches it can possibly go. And so we went from, like, there's a whole planet about snakes, and then we went from snakes in space, which is funny enough, to full-on snake Terminator time travel. That is so funny. We even had Snake Hitler gags. We even had, like, Snake Lincoln.
We did have Snake Lincoln.
And when he passes him the note, it's, like,
and it's
so
just
funny. So funny.
So good.
I also just think it's so random that, like, the snake linguist hooks up with Earth Snake Lady.
Yeah, have y'all seen
they're just, like, rolling around having
yes.
sex, and the people are watching behind the glass, and I'm like, okay, this is happening, and, like, romantic music's playing, but it does not look romantic
I don't
at
know
all.
if it's just purposeful or not, but this reminded me of The Fifth Element.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Oh,
yeah. With, like, Lilu, because she doesn't speak English, so that was... Like, and then, like, the scientists look at each other.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is happening. Okay.
And I think even the president is kind of dressed like the president in Fifth Element. Like, he has, like, a flared collar and stuff.
Oh, man.
What? That makes it even better.
It does.
I'm just saying.
So, Do y'all have any final thoughts on the episode? Or anything, any gags that we haven't talked about that y'all are like, this is the best gag ever?
I don't know. There was just a lot of really good, like, one-liners and stuff. Like, I think overall, like, this episode was just, like, successful in, like, being comedic.
Yes, it was just, I agree, it was very funny.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot of, like, kind of nonsense that's taking place, but, like, it's fun nonsense. And I think that's, like, something that this show does well, is fun nonsense. And I don't know, yeah. I feel like this is definitely my favorite episode of the season so far.
Yeah, so two of the quick gags that I wanted to say before was, because we're gonna, like, if we don't talk about the fact that they were like, Jerry's having an affair, and they all laugh.
They all laugh,
yeah, that's right.
Oh my god.
Such a good gag.
Nothing brings the family together like making fun of Jerry.
Yes.
It really does. Poor Jerry, but also he deserves it just a little bit.
Oh, also, they said fleek in this episode.
I forgot they said fleek.
When they were talking about the snake jazz.
Yeah, they're like, like, fleekness. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
In the year of our Lord 2019, they said fleek. What?
I did just remember Summer's line when the snake got on her, and she's like, nobody chokes me without my consent.
Yes, that was so good.
Summer, this is a side of you I didn't know about, but okay, that's cool.
And then Morty's like, you made everything worse.
Yeah.
Then I really like Nancy. Can you alter the course of a species evolution like that without serious repercussions? And then Summer's like, gee, I don't know, Nancy. Can you alter the course of being a giant fucking nerd? And I was like, this is about me. And they're like, also later we need to discuss your clothing and your weight. And she's like, fair enough.
Oh, poor Nancy.
I know, poor Nancy. Which I think, like, I enjoy, like, making fun of, like, a slumber party. Like, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
As someone who's lived that life.
As someone who has been there before, yes. I understand.
To be fair, Nancy was wearing, like, a zip-up onesie pajama, and she's, like, 15. That's a big no-no, I feel like.
Oh, I had one. I got for
I'm sorry, take it back.
Wow.
I take it back.
Okay, guys.
Okay. I like to have it, just don't, like, wear it
I
with
even have one right now.
Friends.
Oh,
save it for your nice friends, but not your mean friends when you're hanging out together. I wouldn't touch you. I think they're warm. If I could find one, I just don't know where they exist anymore.
If I could find one that, like, could accommodate my height and
exactly,
that would be great.
I'm offended. It's okay.
Oh,
it's fine.
Your fashion choices are valid.
My fashion choices are questionable.
No, they're questionable.
Oh, man.
Let me just deliver this in snake.
With tail.
So is there anything, Michelle, that you wanted to talk about before we finished?
Just, like, all the snakes. Everything about the snakes was so good. I wanted to see more snakes. I'm still not over the concept of snakes in space and how it's just, like, accepted by Rick. It's like, oh, this is how the universe works. Of course, Morty, see? You didn't expect that, but that's what happens. You get out of the car, the snake's gonna bite you in space.
Oh, that was another good gag. Like, they kept talking about, you should have stayed in the car.
Yeah,
he would have just stayed in the car.
Him punching Rick or Morty in the eye, honestly, for whatever reason, I just think is so funny. Because it's such, like, a mean, douchey thing to do.
It was, like, very satisfying because, like, we get to figure out how because Morty was concerned about the black eye, but then we also get to get the final, like, this is why you should stay in the car, like, which is terrible because domestic violence is never okay, but it was just great.
Well, the thing is, after you watch the episode, you're like, Morty deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Rick even went to that giant tirade where they were like, I saved them. Why? And he's like, you gave them proof that there was something bigger and scarier. Yeah. He just yells at them and he's like, just ends with it. You should have stayed in the fucking car.
So good.
Yeah, I think just snakes in space. That's the new Space Dumpsters. Snakes in space.
Just put things in space for us and we're totally good.
We're good.
We're chill.
Or, I mean, anything is a Terminator.
Oh my god, yes. More Terminator things.
As long as they're snakes.
Yes. So, y'all can find out all the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to talk more about Terminator and...
Snakes.
Just speak with us and Snake on... So we can text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Maybe you could be the next Snake Terminator. We do give nicknames.
It's true.
Be the Snake Terminator.
Yeah, you can be the Snake.
Always wanted to be.
Sneeple. We need a Sneeple.
Ooh.
Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Simon. And thanks, as always, to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hughes, Michael, and Needle. So, thanks for listening, guys. Oh, and for those who don't know, Rick and Morty is done until next year. Adult Swim made an announcement. So, there won't be any more. The next episode of Rick and Morty will air in 2020.
I mean, that makes sense.
It does.
Would it be like January, do you think? It seems like a big month for a lot of shows.
Oh, God. I'm not excited to cover all that. Yes.
That's true, actually. Push it back to like February. Nothing else is happening in February.
Just wait until like March so we can catch up.
We can't wait that long, but I'm not sure. They didn't say a date. They said 2020. So they honestly, I mean, especially given their production schedule, I wouldn't be shocked if they pushed it back farther.
That's fair.
We'll find out.
Yep. So we'll be covering other shows. We still have stuff airing this year, but we will talk about Rick and Morty in 2020. So thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.